I have been thinking about this for a long time, scared to apply, procrastinating because I have to work and I have to live and I have to make money. I was working with students and I said, I'm out here telling my students to go for it. Take your shot. You miss 100% of the ones that you don't take. So it really was them saying, well, are you going to take your own advice?
Hello, I'm your host, Sam East, and welcome to GradSWE podcast. Today, we're exploring the experiences of graduate students in engineering, specifically what it's like to get your master's degree as an engineer, how that experience might be different from undergrad, and advice to help you on that graduate school path. I'm joined by Jabreel Walker and Morgan Smith, two members of the GradSWE Affinity Group, to hear their personal stories and advice around graduate school. Morgan and Jabreel, welcome to Diverse.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Well, we always like to get into the conversation with a bit of an origin story. We know what we're going to be talking about here, but we'll start with Jabreel. What inspired you to go to graduate school? Was there a moment where you knew, yes, this is the next best step for me?
So actually, I have been wanting to go to graduate school since I was in undergrad. I actually went on a couple of grad visits when I was in undergrad. And honestly, I just didn't know what I wanted to research. And so the draw of full-time work and a full-time salary pulled me into the workforce, but it has been a desire, honestly, since I was a freshman. I had a math professor who constantly told me that I would go and get a PhD and come back to my alma mater, Prairie View, and teach. And I was like, sir, you are crazy. I'm not doing that. But here I am, somewhat on that path, path.
Do you credit that teacher for really giving you the push?
So no, I'm going to have to credit my mentor, Dr. Felicia Nave, with the push, and my former supervisor, Dr. Natasha Hudson. I have been thinking about this for a long time, scared to apply, pushing it off, procrastinating because I have to work and I have to live and I have to make money. And I eventually got to a place where it's like I was working with students and I said, I'm out here telling my students to go for it. Take your shot. You miss 100% of the ones that you don't take. So it really was them saying, well, are you going to take your own advice?
Ooh, they're calling you out.
I know. Yeah, it was kind of rough. And I'm like, okay, let me at least apply because I can't go if I don't apply. And so I'm like, if I apply and I get in, I'll deal with that when I get to it. So I just apply like, I don't even know if I'm going to get in, and I got in. Everywhere I applied, I got in.
Oh, look at that across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And Morgan, what about you? What inspired you to go to graduate school? Do you remember if there was a moment that pushed you in that direction?
Yeah, so I still am technically a pre-medical student. In undergrad, I was straight pre-med major, but then I actually got into some engineering research. And I was like, maybe I should flesh this out before I decide on professional school. It's like, let me get started in research and explore that. So that's kind of what motivated me to start in graduate school. I wasn't even sure what discipline I wanted to do. When I was at Texas A&M, I did biomedical sciences. But now I'm actually doing another degree in biomedical engineering because through my research, I found that my interests are actually more in engineering and computer science versus strictly medicine or strictly clinical applications in science. And so for me, it was kind of a chance to get to explore my research further and kind of deepen my interests.
Oh, it's interesting. You both spent some time, from what I'm understanding, working before going back to school. And I think there's a lot of messaging that we just need to stick to being in school and keep that momentum going. But you were both able to do a bit of both. What was it like to return, Morgan, to the classroom after a break?
Yeah, so it was about 2 full semesters when I went back to school. And at first it was daunting. Like, I'm going to be very honest. It was daunting. A little bit of that imposter syndrome was sneaking up. It was definitely a little intimidating at first, but I kind of had to remember that I wanted to go back for a reason and not letting fear be the reason that keeps me from progressing in what I want to do as a professional. But it was daunting at first. I've gotten back in the swing now, but yeah, it was definitely a little intimidating.
And Jabreel, what about you? What was it like returning to school after the break?
Well, my break was a little bit longer than Morgan's. 10 plus years since I have officially sat in a classroom, although I do have a master's in education, but it was completely online. So I never actually quote unquote sat in the classroom. So now, as a part of this PhD program that I'm in, being back is hard. It is very hard to manage my own time and not be on somebody else's time, and just my mindset. There's a mindset I think that you have when you're in the workforce, just around like you go to work, you kind of do your work, and then you come home and you try not to bring your work home with you. But in grad school, there is really no not bringing your work home with you, because your work really is your life. It's why you're in school in the first place. So I think for me, the biggest thing has been like shifting my mindset to understanding that nothing that I'm doing now is just so that I can get a check or just so that I can, get this performance review. Everything that I'm doing now in grad school is because I'm setting up the research that I want to do for the rest of my life. The things that I'm working on are going to have impacts, beyond just the one semester or the 2 semesters that I'm a part of it.
It's a greater purpose.
Yeah.
So, what have you found? And we'll start with you, Jabreel. Are some of the biggest differences between graduate school and undergrad?
Whew. Okay, Sam. So this is a good question. So, undergrad to me was about learning what already exists. In engineering, you're learning thermodynamics. I was a chemical engineering undergrad, so a lot of chemistry, physics. So, you're learning things that already exist. But being in grad school, specifically a lot of master's and PhD programs, is about adding to the conversation. It's about developing knowledge, developing information that doesn't already exist out in the universe. So I think that's the biggest difference. And going back to kind of what was hardest, a mindset shift. Like, I just want them to tell me what I need to learn, but actually, no, they're not going to tell me, because I'm going to learn whatever I choose to learn. It's all about choice.
It sounds like there's a lot more initiative on your end that needs to be taken in graduate school.
Yes, definitely.
And Morgan, what about you? The differences between graduate school and undergrad?
Yeah, I think Jabril hit the nail on the head. It's definitely about you get out of it what you put in, truly, you really do. As a pre-med student, I'm learning all the basics. But when you go to grad school, you figure out how to apply those basics. And I think also grad school is where you find your thing. Obviously, there's a variety of fields in science and engineering, but there's fields inside of those fields. So especially when you're pursuing research, you're figuring out, okay, what part of thermodynamics do I want to study? What part of biomedical engineering do I want to study? Like, you get really invested and you kind of find your niche.
SWE's theme this year is embrace your story, which is really all about embracing the detours, maybe the hurdles that show up in our lives and how you have to redirect. Morgan, can you share a moment in your grad school journey that did not go as planned, but in the end, it really shaped who you are today?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So kind of how I mentioned, like, I planned to go to medical school. I thought I was going to do undergrad and go straight through to medical school. I wasn't thinking about doing a master's or a PhD at the time. And not doing that was the best decision I've made, I think, in my academic and professional journey so far. So for me, when I went from undergrad, I went right into my first graduate program in biomedical sciences. And I had planned to do biomedical engineering then, but the availability just wasn't there at the time for the lab that I wanted to join. So I did biomedical sciences instead. That's kind of what led me to going into work after I graduated from that, and then now returning to grad school to do biomedical engineering. So I kind of had to take some time to kind of figure out what exactly it was that I wanted to do, even though I originally planned to not do any of it, really. I planned to go straight through and kind of figuring it out along the way in professional school. But I think ultimately it's given me the chance to be involved in a ton of things. Like, for example, SWE. I wasn't involved in SWE in undergrad or in my previous graduate program. So it's given me a chance to involve myself in extracurriculars. It's given me a chance to contribute to research and really find out what it is that I'm passionate about and that I love to do.
I think that's a worthy reminder that things rarely go exactly as we planned them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But oftentimes better than we would have hoped for. And Jabreel, what about you? Is there a moment that you can reflect on with us in your grad school journey? Didn't quite go as planned, but you figured it out. You landed on your feet.
Yeah, so I am just entering my second year of my PhD program. So I'm just finishing the first year. And my first semester was so rough. I am a recovering perfectionist, and between working, I was still working when I started grad school, family obligations, just trying to keep up with everything. It really was not sustainable, and I ended up taking two incompletes in the fall. And at the time, that felt like failure because I'm a recovering perfectionist. But what I learned was it's not about finishing everything perfectly on time. It's really about whether I have learned the material. And taking that incomplete for me was a really good thing because one, grad school is not a race, it's a process. And sometimes the process is about slowing down and really figuring out what it is that you're doing, asking for help, and rethinking like what really does success look like. I mean, I feel like I've been in a identity crisis for the last 8 months in grad school, trying to figure out who is Jabreel as a graduate student, because it's not quite the same Jabreel who was a professional, or the same Jabreel who was an educator, or the same Jabreel who was an undergraduate college student. So I really think that technically more than a moment, because of course it's a whole semester's, kind of worth of things. But I feel like that moment, like having to choose to take the incompletes, and then I recently actually finished those incompletes and I got an A in both of those classes.
Hey,
And I was so, I don't even know the words to say how nervous I was about what I would get in those classes. And to get an A is a reminder that, again, it's not about finishing on time or even doing it perfectly. It's about, am I learning the material? Am I able to produce something that I can get feedback on?
it's the evolution of Jabreel, it sounds like.
I'm in evolution for sure.
What advice, because I know there's going to be a lot of women engineers listening to this who are getting their masters, considering graduate school. Jabreel, what do you wish someone had told you before you started grad school? Like, imagine younger Jabreel. What advice would you pass on to younger Jabreel?
You don't need to have it all figured out to get started.
That's good.
Like to wait until things are, I have this much money in the bank and I have, this much, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, no, actually, if it's really what you want to do, it's what you're passionate about, it's, something that's burning in your belly that just has never gone away, which that was the case for me. You don't need to have it figured out to start. I can say that since I have started this program, although there's been a lot of challenges, it's also been really fulfilling and affirming. I know that I'm doing the right thing. I know that I'm in the right place right now. This is the time. It wouldn't have been the right time 10 years ago. Right now is the right time for me to be here. So just the fact that you don't have to have it all figured out to start.
Oh, I love that so much. That's a very worthy reminder. I think, like you said before, that perfectionism, it creeps in for so many of us. And I feel like it plagues women a lot of the time, thinking you have to have all your ducks in a row, but you're a true testament that that doesn't always have to be the case. And Morgan, for the women engineers who are listening, who are thinking about graduate studies at the moment, what advice would you pass on to them?
Yeah, the first thing I would say is to always bet on yourself. I didn't start off thinking that I was fit for engineering, truly. I didn't think that I would be able to keep up. I was a student athlete in college, and so I didn't think that I would be able to handle the coursework with my schedule. And I was so wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. And so if I could go back and tell myself, and one thing I'll tell everyone else as well, is always bet on yourself, because you can do absolutely anything that you set your mind to. And I would also say that if nobody has told you, then I'll tell you, but you can, you will, you must. If it's something that you're really passionate about, exactly like Jabreel said, don't let fear or don't let what someone else says stop you from accomplishing what you feel like you're meant to do.
Can you repeat that again? You can, you will.
You can, you will, you must.
Oh, someone's going to get that tattooed.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
Yeah, someone's going to get that tattooed on their body. Before we let you go here, the GradSWE Affinity Group, engineers who are pursuing graduate degrees, Now they don't have to do it alone. There's a sense of community there. Can you share more about the GradSWE AG, what you offer, how listeners can get involved? Morgan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so GradSWE is built on the foundation of supporting graduate students, just like you said. So we're graduate students of multiple levels. Some of us are master's students, some of us are in doctorate programs, but we're all there for support. There's tons of resources as far as getting started into grad school for those people who may be interested in becoming members of GradSWE, for those who are in GradSWE and maybe they're like me who's in a master's program, but they're interested in joining a doctoral program. There's supports for everybody.
And Jabreel, what about you? What can you share about GradSWE, how listeners can get involved?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, like Morgan said, GradSWE is a community. So, we focus on three things. The first is building community and belonging. And I would say one of the main things that is going to be true for any person who's considering going to graduate school is that you are going to have a community. You cannot do it by yourself. The next thing is academic and career mentorship. So while a lot of us are pursuing graduate degrees, considering pursuing graduate degrees, not everyone intends to work in academia, nor does everyone intend to go into the workforce. So having that academic and career mentorship to help people get to wherever their final destination is. Also, we're going to be at We 25 in New Orleans, which is actually my second home. I love that place. We're going to have a hospitality suite and a graduate student reception. So there are going to be opportunities for you to connect with us there. And I mean, the truth is, we're here for all students in all kinds of graduate programs, masters, PhDs, part-time students, full-time students, online students, like anyone that's pursuing that next step. GradSWE is here for you.
Oh, I love that. A sense of community when you're still trying to figure it out goes a long way, and I'm sure you can both attest to that.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, Morgan and Jabreel, it's been awesome getting a chance to talk to you, pick your brains, and get some of your insights for graduate studies. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. This was fun.
This
Yeah.
is fun, right? I like it. It's been a while since I've been in school, but you guys have me a little bit inspired here. Might have to go back.
Never too late.
Yes.
Never too late. Okay, that's a good reminder, no matter where you are on the journey, right?
Right.
Yep.
SWE offers over 20 affinity groups that bring together communities that share similar interests and backgrounds. Membership in any SWE affinity group is open to all SWE members. You can visit affinitygroups.swe.org to get involved in the ones that interest you. And if you're in graduate school or interested in supporting graduate students, be sure to reach out to the GradSWE AG as they have a ton of resources, networking, and support that can help you. A big thank you again to Morgan and Jabreel for joining us today. I'm Sam East, and from all of us at SWE, thank you for listening.